Excellent. Namaste, guys. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consulting, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Transformation Q&A Thursday, starting a little bit later than usual, and I'll explain why in a second. Before we invoke, or before we begin, let's invoke. Before we invoke, let's invoke. Place your hands on your heart. Be aware of your heart. Be aware of your crown. Be aware of your heart and your crown together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, respected and beloved teacher, Grand Master Choa Kok Sui, to his teacher, Lord Bodhisattva Meileng, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, healing ministers, the angels of wisdom, to the nature devas of this place, the beings of inner and outer healing, to our divine selves or higher souls, we humbly invoke for your divine light, love, and power. For your help, guidance, and protection, we ask for superconductivity and super receptivity to properly, rapidly, and gently learn the lessons necessary to move us forward properly and rapidly. We thank you, Lord God. We thank you all. With gratitude, respect, and love. So be it, and so it is. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. So we had a beautiful spot to do today's transformation Q&A. A little backstory, as it were. So this is the first time I've rented a car here in Maui. So the first week that I've been here, I've basically been walking everywhere because everything is a 3 to 4 minute walk. And then I'll take a bus to go in town, which is like a 14-minute bus ride, no traffic and don't have to park anywhere. Parking is a little squirrely in this area. But I wanted to do some traveling around Maui this weekend. So I rented a car, went to the airport, picked up the car, and then I was like, well, I got Q&A, and I'm kind of in between going back to my Airbnb, going to a new area. I wanted to get something to eat. So it was kind of like this timing thing, right? So I'm going, all right, I'm going to drive for the next 15 minutes, get something to eat in a town I've never been to before, and then I'm most likely going to find a beautiful spot to do Q&A. So I'm driving, and about 8 minutes into the drive from Paia, which is a town that I frequent a lot. I'm in Paia right now. I see this beautiful park, and I took pictures of it, so I'll put it in the membership group. And it's called Rainbow Park. It's beautiful. This cute little nugget park with a lot of it's towards the hillish area of Maui, so you can overlook the ocean. Not right from that park, but like a corner around the park, you overlook the ocean. Really, really beautiful, picturesque, and there's wild chickens everywhere. That's the thing in Maui. There's wild chickens just running around. I see a bunch of baby chickens too. It's kind of funny. So I'm like, all right, perfect. And I'm looking at my phone. I got Wi-Fi. Everything's good to go. So I said, I'm going to drive a few more minutes, hit the place to eat, which I found the place to eat. Wild chickens. Oh, in Tahiti too. No kidding. What's up with the wild chickens? By the way, I found out Maui is the fourth most dream destination on the planet. Paris is number one. Bora Bora. What was the third one? I was going to say Detroit. It's not Detroit, by the way. Paris, Bora Bora, another islandy place, and then Maui. So I was like, sweet. So, anyways, I'm going up there, getting after it with the finding the place to eat. I found the place to eat. I took a picture outside the bathroom. It'll blow your mind. I'll also put that in the membership group, on the Facebook group, so you guys can see it. That's the picture of the bathroom. It's like, so I'm like, all right, well, time to finish my sandwich, get in the car, and head back down. Do the 7 minute little baby drive. And then I get there, I'm setting up. Somebody's sitting in my spot, by the way, in the park, because I was like, that's the spot right there in the gazebo. Somebody was sitting there. So I was like, that's fine. We'll adapt. We'll find a new spot. And then I have everything up, laptop set up, phone set up. We're ready to party. And then no signal. So I said, all right, well, it's time to get back in the car and then drive back to Paia, which is only 7 minutes at the bottom of the hill. So Wi-Fi is really, really good here. The beach is literally an 8 minute walk. If I got out of the car right now and just walked for 8 minutes, and basically in a straight, kind of in a straight line, I'd run right into the ocean, which I'll be doing right after the Q&A. So I'm looking forward to it. Got a beautiful massage lined up in Kula, Kuala, however you say that, which is about 25 minutes south of here. And this person came recommended by another massage therapist. So this is her teacher. You all know we're all about our teacher's teacher, right? So you always go to the highest you can, you have access to, and be getting a Thai massage from her in this beautiful location that's elevated, and you have not a 360 view, but a pretty wide view of the ocean while you're getting massage outside in like a canopy. Super looking forward to it. We'll take pictures, videos, the whole deal. And then other plans this weekend with the car, especially Friday and Saturday. So we got the Q&A set up. For those of you who submitted your questions, super, super grateful. For those of you who submitted your questions later, well, we'll be applying those later. We'll be adding those later. All right, everyone calm down. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. So the reason, so you might be asking, well, why is it that you're always trying to find the place? Like when you're in Sedona, you're trying to find a place. When you're here, you're trying to find a place. Why are you always trying to find a different place to do the Q&As, to do the Transformation Sundays? What's the deal? Because I'm the conduit, I'm the facilitator of the energy for this group. So energy is passing through me, and then it's going into the people that watch it live and the people that watch the replay. The better energy I can get access to, the better it is for you guys. Now, granted, if I kept doing the videos in the same place day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, the energy is building, right? And so you have access to that. But because I've been traveling the past 4 months, there's not enough time for energy to build. So I'm always looking for clean, fresh places to plug you guys into. So when we were in Sedona, we did a couple of the broadcasts in at the stupa, the big stupa, right? The Tibetan stupa. Now, where I am in Paia, about if my arm was a little bit longer, I could reach out and grab the Maui stupa. Some of you might have seen the pictures on Facebook. So again, being close to spiritual energy. So it permeates and penetrates you guys deeper, and it brightens the soul better. Okay, that's why I'm always looking for good spots to do these talks and these lectures and these healings and meditations. Okay, number one, people in Maui don't know how to drive. Figuring that out. Number two, I've never been in a quote unquote island town. So maybe this is just the theme that people drive 30, 35 miles an hour all the time. But nobody seems to know how to drive. And I don't know how many are tourists. I don't know how many are natives. Not quite sure, but nobody seems to know how to drive. Park, parallel park, back up. Everyone's in La La Land. But I think it has to do with the energy, because since I've just been driving, I'm a little disorientated. True, I don't know any of the area, so I'm also looking around. But at the same time, I think I'm just too blissed out to be paying attention. Almost every island I've been to said, and they run an island time. Yes, I have heard the island time. I have heard the island time. So most of the masters in pranic healing are Filipino, and the only one who's always on time is Master Ko and Master Hector. The other masters, we start when we start, we end when we end, right? That's kind of the mindset. So I'm kind of noticing that a little bit here in Maui. But again, I've only been here a week. I haven't been, traveling around and seeing too much, but I will this weekend. So, first question. It's a good question. Meat is denser in energy, right? So if you have fruits and vegetables, Fiji was really bad about island time. I heard Fiji is one of the worst, actually. Anthony Robbins, right? So maybe that's why Anthony Robbins is there, to like anchor timeliness into the place. So the question is, meat is denser in energy. Does eating meat help prior to an important meeting or something we would like to materialize rapidly versus not eating meat? So you have air. Those people are called breatharians. Those are people who live off of air prana. Very few people's energy bodies are that refined that they can just live off of air prana or solar prana. They do exist. And it's not super uncommon, but you're looking at 1 out of a few million people, right, that have the ability to do that. But Master Choa was saying, in most all cases, those people's They're shaped like this. They're not very grounded people because they're living off of either air prana, air from the environment. So this would be a great place if you're going to live off of air prana here, or desert areas like Joshua Tree, California would be an excellent place to live off of air and or solar prana. Then you have people that eat fruits and vegetables. Then you have people that eat fish and eggs, and then you have people that eat, lamb and beef and pork and what have you. So each of those things are denser and denser and denser in energy. Also, how the animal, if you choose to eat meat, how the animal is killed also affects the quality and density of the energy, right? So that's why when something is kosher or blessed by a rabbi, the energy of that thing vibrates higher. Lamb vibrates higher than beef or pork. Pork is the lowest vibrational of all the meats because a pig cannot sweat. So the toxins in general stay in their body. And if you look at pig clairvoyantly, a slaughtered pig clairvoyantly, it's reddish grayish energy, which is not good. So when someone has Kundalini syndrome, right? They have too much Kundalini energy coming up and hitting a dirty system, and not enough divine energy coming down to clean and cool it out. The energy that it looks like is it depends. There's certain other factors, but in general, it's grayish reddish energy, which is what pork is. So think about it. If you have also cancer is reddish and orange and gray. So if you have Kundalini syndrome and then you eat something that has the same energetic blueprint as Kundalini syndrome and you put it into your body, it makes it even worse, right? So Master Choa was sharing about times that he was practicing higher levels of Rahatic yoga, which is strongly recommended, strongly advised not to eat not only pork, but not to eat meat, to be vegetarian, or you're going to have Kundalini syndrome. So his Kundalini syndrome was so bad that he physically couldn't get out of bed. Imagine that. Imagine you meditate, you keep eating pork, your system is so congested that your physical body can't even get out of bed. It's amazing because nothing else was like, it didn't injure his back, it didn't injure his physical body doing something that prevented him from getting out of bed. He was energetically super, super congested. Because when you do high level practices, your aura, your chakras, your meridians expand greatly, and then you dump, and it speeds up your energy body. Then you dump a bunch of sludge that your body then pushes around every part of you. So it's not good. Don't recommend it. So the question is, if you want to materialize something, if you have a business meeting, a sales meeting, or you want to materialize anything, should you be eating meat? Meaning, can you materialize something without eating meat, or do you have to eat meat to materialize? Well, obviously, it's not necessary to eat meat to materialize. People's energy bodies, there's a few things that could be said. People's energy bodies that are not very big, their aura is not big, their chakras aren't very big, the meridians or energy channels are not very big. Those people can eat meat, even pork, and it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be a big deal. But if you have a huge energy body, huge chakras, huge meridians, big channels that are open, that are moving energy super, super, super fast, and you put meat into it, it's going to congest you very, very quickly, right? It's going to affect you very, very quickly. The other factor is your awareness, right? So if you're not sensitive, like Master Choa wasn't, he kept doing his high level practices and eating pork. He wasn't noticing, 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 then he couldn't get out of bed. Big difference, right? He couldn't get out of bed. If he had greater awareness and greater sensitivity, he would even feel holding the meat, holding the pork, the salami, the lechon in the Filipino tradition. That's primarily what he was eating. If you even holding it, he would feel an aversion, right? But he's not sensitive, and he says this all the time. He's not sensitive, right? So it also goes back to your sensitivity and awareness. So Yes, eating meat can ground you. I've been vegetarian most of over the past 20 years, but there have been times in my life that I was super space cadetty, right? Woo! And I couldn't ground myself. So if I ate a piece of steak or hamburger or anything, meat, it would put me in my body. I would literally like be anchored and come down. But as you keep refining, as you keep going higher, it can become a bigger and bigger issue or problem. Now, I asked one of the masters recently this question about grounding. About grounding, I said, can you ground somebody using energy? Right? Because when we think grounding, what do we think? Physical things. Eating meat, smoking cigarettes, doing drugs, those things have grounding effects, right? Drinking alcohol has a grounding effect. So can you ground otherwise? And the Master Pranic Healer, granted, this is him doing it. This isn't the common ordinary person doing it, but he was able to ground a disciple so much that he could barely stand. This was an experiment the two of them had, an agreement they had with one another. So he was able to ground him so the student could barely move his body. So, yes, you can be grounded using energy practices versus eating meat. If I had a choice, what would I choose? Grounding using energy practices versus grounding eating meat, right? So, how do we ground? Squats, mini squats, right? So, you just go down about 2 to 4 inches, 200 to 300 reps. What does that do? It pumps the basic chakra. And as the basic chakra is pumping, it's expanding, more red energy is being generated and a little bit of gold, right? The basic chakra is expanding, the perineum or the root cord is expanding, the soles of the feet are expanding, and it's rooting you and connecting you more so to the earth. That has a better short-term and long-term effect than eating meat. Okay? So that's what I would recommend. Squat, any kind of physical activity. Um, what else can you do to ground yourself? Taking royal jelly or wild American ginseng has a grounding effect. What else? Also, taking a cold shower. When you take a cold shower, instead of radiating, you pull in. So if you have a tendency to be kind of a space cadet, you can take a cold shower, and your energy body will, your physical body will absorb the energy. That's something you can do as well. One reason they're so therapeutic, cold showers. I thoroughly enjoy cold showers. Okay, so ginseng, royal jelly, things that have red energy in them. Um, Taking a cold shower, which actually things that are cold have blue prana, has a contracting ability, but it can also, if you have a excess congestion, it can get rid of that. So then you can absorb fresh prana. Doing your squats, doing physical exercises, doing mental physics, doing Tibetan rites, all of those things will ground you, right? But people are like, oh, I want the easy way out. I just want to have a burger. I just want to have a piece of, a steak or this or that. Yeah, you can do that. But the long-term benefits, if you're a practitioner, will be a big deal. Now, people that get all worked up and like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you're eating a burger. Oh my God. How often do you practice? Oh, you occasionally practice. Yeah. So don't worry about it. Right? Meaning if you're occasionally doing meditation practices, your energy body's not that big, not that refined yet, right? In general. So you can eat meat and it's not a big deal. Now, if you're practicing high level things on a regular basis and your energy body's getting bigger and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, then you eat something that's heavy or congested or dense, it's greatly going to affect you. All this meat talk, not interested. Okay? I hope that helps. I hope that's clearing that up. Next question. How does nanotechnology affect one's body and does it affect the spiritual body? How does nanotechnology affect one's body and does it affect the spiritual body? It's a really good question. So you guys know nanotechnology is basically the teeny weeny little machines that go in and they can administer certain medications into the bloodstream. They can fix capillaries, all of these things that they're still not quite there yet, right? And there was a talk about, will nanotechnology replace pranic healing? What is pranic healing, everybody? Pranic healing complements allopathic medicine. It does not replace it. It doesn't say, all right, ER, get out of here. Oh, wait, your arm got cut off? Don't worry, let's do pranic healing on it only, right? We never say that. If you need medication, you take medication. If you need surgery, you get the surgery. If you need whatever you need physically and otherwise, you do it. If you need supplements, you take it. And pranic healing complements that. Now, with nanotechnology, what is it affecting? Physical body. When you're healing somebody, what are you affecting? Ultimately, the soul. Different things. So if you can stay in your body longer, then that means you have more time to learn lessons, more time to have experiences, more time to neutralize karma, more time to do good in the world. But at the end of the day, what determines how long this physical body lasts, nanotechnology or not? The soul. So you go, so wait a minute, are you telling me that if I get nanotechnology to go in and fix all of my heart valves and any scar tissue and everything like that, I could still die the next day? Yeah. Because if the higher soul goes, we're done with this vessel, we're done with this vehicle, the physical body, it withdraws its energy, right? But if the higher soul, because the higher soul manipulates the inner world that affects the physical world, it will bring you nanotechnology, it'll bring you a doctor, it'll bring you a procedure, it'll bring you something in your life that will do what? Prolong itself. Kind of how it works. So it's not that nanotechnology is going to replace pranic healing, because pranic healing is complementary to all practices. And also, nanotechnology is helping the physical body stay alive healthily, hopefully longer. But at the end of the day, the higher soul is what determines that. It's the karma of the individual that determines how long they live or not. How many people have known people who are runners, super fit, super healthy, and then die in their mid 40s? Then you have people like George Burns, who had a heavy cigar habit for almost 70 years, and he lived to almost 100. I think he might have gone over 100, if I'm not mistaken. How's that possible? Because it wasn't his karma to die through cigar smoking, right? How it works. So, as Master Choa would say, what is of the body is of the body. What is of the spirit is of the spirit. So, nanotechnology is affecting your physical body, even though it's teeny weeny tiny. It's still affecting the physical body. It's not on the emotional plane. It's not on the mental plane. It's not on the causal plane. They're affecting the physical vehicle, physical vessel. Okay, so they're complementary. So you don't have to go, well, I'm getting nanotechnology. I can throw out all my pranic healing techniques. I can throw out all of my arhatic yoga practices. You know, don't worry about the soul anymore because my physical body is going to live forever. Well, what animates your physical body? The soul, not nanotechnology, right? Next question. What's the best form of service one can do? It's a good question. You can look at it from different viewpoints. Um, some service is better than no service, right? So let's say you learn pranic healing, and in your community, there's no other forms of service. Nobody needs you for anything, right? And you're like, I could do healing, but I don't want to do healing. I'm not drawn to heal other people. I could barely heal myself, right? I'm not drawn to doing healing. So you could A, do nothing, B, begrudgingly do service of healing others, or C, you could relocate and go somewhere else that you could be of service to others, right? It's really up to you. Because what is service? Service is giving your time and energy for the benefit of another person or organization that can't repay you. That's service, right? And it's service is not about it has to produce a result. Meaning like, well, what if I heal somebody and I make them worse? Or what if I heal somebody and their headache doesn't go away? Or what if I heal somebody and their lower back doesn't go away? That's okay. You're being of service as long as you're following the protocol that you're taught in pranic healing in our Hatha Yoga, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Um, but if you don't resonate with that, that's okay. Find something else to be of service. There's many, 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 many ways of doing service. Just like the same way with gratitude, right? Recommend clients write out 108 things you're grateful for, and they're like, I can't think of 6. Then obviously you don't understand gratitude, which is okay, right? We're all at different places of development and awareness. So if you go, well, there's nowhere to serve in my community, is that accurate? Or you just tried one channel that you didn't find anything that resonates with you? Like, for instance, my mother does service at an animal shelter, right? For mostly dogs. I think there are a couple cats, but mostly dogs at her animal shelter. And she's been serving there for over 6 years, and she does it 3 days a week. And she loves it. It gets her super jacked up. I would be bored to tears and want to pull my hair out if I was at an animal shelter place. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my form of service. So it would be causing me more suffering than alleviating suffering. Does that make sense? So I find other things. So I like to help people with their problems, even as service, because it's highly rewarding, highly fulfilling, and it's using my skill set, right? Helping out animals is not my skill set. A girlfriend of mine back in the day would do anything and everything for dogs. If she had to take in 7 dogs tomorrow into her apartment, her 1-bedroom apartment, she would do it without hesitation, literally without hesitation. But when I would ask her, hey, do you want to go do 3 hours of service at the food bank? Huge resistance, right? So you have to meet people where you're at. You have to have a level of self-honesty and understanding. Like, if you want to work at a domestic abuse shelter, then go for it. If you don't, then don't do it. But do something, right? Some service is better than no service. So I would recommend that. So best form of service is the form of service that calls you. But again, you got to take it from the head and put it into action. That's karma yoga. Service is karma yoga. So you can have goodwill, like I want to help people. I want to alleviate the suffering of such and such. And then the will to do good. You have to get off your ass and do something, which most people um, have resistance to. I don't know that many people that do both. I don't know that many people that do tithing and service. They do one or the other. But if you want to improve your life energetically, your heart, and your finances, service and tithing. Service and tithing. So I hope that clarifies that. Next question. Who is MCKS's teacher or Master Choa Kok Sui, the modern founder of Pranic Healing or Hatha Yoga? Everyone on this membership site should know who Master Choa is. If not, well, congratulations and welcome. So it was interesting because I got involved in pranic healing in 2004. I met Master Choa in the physical body in July of 2004 at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Secaucus, New Jersey. And it was fascinating because right around that time, he was starting to open up about his teacher. Because for many, many years, he would say, my teacher, my teacher, my teacher. And then at the end of class, he would say, are there any questions? And people would say, who's your teacher? And he would say, next question. He wouldn't answer directly who the teacher was, right? Because I think he was trying to figure out how to say it for people to understand. Because if you're developing a healing system and you're exposing people to the healing system, and it's a foreign thing for people, you're going to want them to be comfortable. You don't want to hit them with the sledgehammer right off the bat. So when people are like, oh yeah, I got all of my information from this Tibetan master who's not in the physical body. Like, what? What are you talking about? I think I'm gonna see myself out, right? So Master Cho was smart enough to keep it quiet until there was a global movement, books, CDs, courses, certified instructors around the planet in 60 countries before he started talking about his teacher. So his teacher, and I'm not going to go, I don't consider myself an expert in the teacher's teacher. I don't consider myself to have all the answers. But in essence, the teacher that we invoke when we do our invocations in the beginning and we have our closing Thanksgiving prayer is Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling. The teacher's teacher has had many, many incarnations. The teacher's teacher is very, 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 very advanced. Very, very advanced. And this teacher has been a teacher for holy masters for eons of time. So, as the old saying goes in business, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so we have a very close, intimate connection of this great teacher through Master Choa. So, and we're invoking for the softer, more feminine aspect of that teacher, because when you scrape your knee as a kid, who do you run to? Mom. Mom, make me feel better. Mom, it hurts. Mom, I need you for something. Mom, where's dinner? Right? Mom. Because it's the love aspect, it's the providing aspect. That's why we invoke for Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling, the feminine yin giving aspect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Super grateful, right? We don't invoke for the other aspect of the teacher. Because when things are hitting the fan in life, who do you call upon? Dad. But when you call upon dad, what typically happens? Destruction. Because in a good way, right? In a good way. But while it's happening, you're like, I don't know if I wanted it like this, right? But once the debris is cleared, you're like, okay, I can kind of see the bigger picture in all this. So we invoke for the feminine aspect of the teacher's teacher. But I've had beautiful experiences, and I've talked with other disciples over the years who have had beautiful experiences with the teacher's teacher. But it's a little bit, not a little bit, it's outside of the scope of these Q&A talks. But I think it's a great question, and you can explore more of the teacher's teacher, Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling, and then Lord Padma Sambhava. Those are different incarnations of that teacher. Hermes Trismegistus, the founder of Hermetics, which is Egyptian magic. That teacher was a pharaoh and the founder of that school. So these are way outside of my pay grade energies. Way, way, way outside of the pay grade energies. You know, it's really fascinating. Master Choa is a genius, right? An actual verifiable genius. And he would say whenever he would get taught by his teacher, right, Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling, in the inner world, he would say, when the teacher teaches me subject matter outside of my area of expertise, which is healing, right? That's Master Choa's area of expertise. He says, what the teacher would tell me was incomprehensible. Think about that. Incomprehensible. A genius is being taught by a genius creator, and like incomprehensible. So when we get all prideful of like, I'm level this Arhatic yoga, and I've healed this many people, and la 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 la. Yeah. Then you're like, am I a Master Choa? And then Master Choa would say, am I a Lord Bodhisattva Mei Ling? So it's like very humbling when you understand the gap. Master Choa says the gap between a saint, an arhat, and a holy master is like a child to an adult in development. That's a saint and a holy master. Where are we in that equation? We're not even in, we're like in the fetus fetus stage, right? So it's really, really humbling when you think about it and you connect to those energies. But if you stay humble, you have access to that energy, those powers to do good, right? That's the purpose of it. Next question. Why do pranic healers spray their hands with alcohol and water? What would happen if you didn't spray your hands? Good question. So in pranic healing, we work on something known as energetic hygiene, which to my knowledge is we're one of the few schools of energy healing on the planet that focuses on energetic hygiene. Just like not only, I don't know of any other energy school that does any form of energetic hygiene, and then pranic healing has many different forms of energetic hygiene. But the simplest one that we use is a water alcohol solution. So you have a bottle, you fill it up 3/4 of the way with water, 1/4 of the way with 70% isopropyl alcohol. Some people use vodka. Vodka is about 40% concentration. A, that's too weak for me. B, I don't like the smell of vodka. So I use isopropyl alcohol. There is 90% isopropyl alcohol, but for me, that's a little bit too aggressive. Not my jam. Water is magnetizing. It pulls congestion. It pulls energy. So if I had I have this water bottle. If I just left the water bottle open in the car over a period of time, it's going to pull in whatever's in the car. So if I had this water out, lid off, and I had a huge argument with someone, it's going to hold on to that, and then I drink the water. Now what? Now I have that congestion. If I have this open and I have a beautiful, highly spiritual interaction and conversation with another person, I drink the water, I re-experience that. So water pulls. The colder the water, the more it pulls. The hotter the water, it radiates. So in pranic healing, our salt bowl, which we use for energetic hygiene, you want the water to be cold. You don't want the water to be hot because it radiates the congestion outwards. You want the water to be cold so it pulls it in. Salt breaks it up. So salt water is green energy. It decontaminates. Alcohol spray is green energy. It decontaminates. So right here, an 8-minute walk is the Pacific Ocean, and it's super clean and cleansing, which I found out. I go, there's something different about the energy here than other beaches that I've been to in California, beaches I've been to in Florida, because this has less thought forms because it's an island. There's less people, less contamination, less travel, less traffic, less everything. So the vibration is very, very bright and expansive, and there's a lot of solar energy. So the solar energy is hitting the air prana. The air prana is being constantly rejuvenated, regenerated, and refilled. And so you get really vitalized coming out here, right? So when we spray our hands, so when you clean someone energetically, you clean them, clean their solar plexus, clean their sex chakra, clean their navel, clean their throat, their heart, whatever. You're pulling in some of that congestion. So you spray your hands to break up that congestion. Or you reabsorb that into your body. So what can happen? You can get sick. You can start taking on the symptoms of the person, right? So if you're healing them of neck pain and you don't do proper cleansing and disconnecting, you're going to start noticing, why does my neck start hurting? You won't make the connection, most people don't, until hours later or even days later. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't clean my hands well enough. I didn't disconnect myself from that person. Empaths are very good at soaking in and sucking up things in the environment. So if they feel somebody's pain, they almost become one with the pain temporarily. And because they want to help the person, they have compassion for the person's pain. So they suck it in. So what it boils down to is you want to spray your hands regularly. every 30 seconds to a minute. If not, you get congested. You could potentially take on the ailment of the person. You can break out in rashes, hives, all kinds of stuff. Master Choa did lots and lots of healings back to back to back to back without spraying his hands, and his feet had rashes all over them, and his hands had rashes all over them. This wasn't in the early years of developing pranic healing, but it was, I think, partly an experiment, and partly there wasn't enough alcohol water solution available. So you can spray just water on your hands. It will have an effect, but it's not as powerful as alcohol and water together. Another technique you can do is ohm your hand, right? Ohm. The trick is you don't want it too close because then you're going to congest your throat. So for instance, let's say my hand is covered in congested energy from a person. I'm working on stress and I'm removing stress. I don't have a salt bowl. I don't have an alcohol water spray, but I don't want to hold on to this. I don't know who I just took this off of, but I don't want to hold on to this. I could ohm it super close, and now I'm congesting my throat with the energy. So you have to think energetically. So now I'm going to go, Om. And as long as the vibration touches your hand, you're good. So you don't want to go, it's not going to have the effect, right? And also, Om. I mean, if you're loud enough, it'll vibrate your hand, but there has to be a vibration. And you can feel it. If you're sensitive, you'll feel it. You'll feel your hand is lighter than before. So that's why we use spray to clean our hands so we don't reabsorb the contamination. Next question. What if I have a hard time letting go of someone I want to date or marry? Well, this helped a client recently. Plenty of options. Big Brother, Six Sister, Habitat, cost of mentoring, tutoring. Yes, there are many options and opportunities to serve, for sure. That's why I never buy it. It just means the person doesn't want to serve. The person's selfish tendencies are kicking in. That's all. Like, oh, there's nowhere to serve. That's not true at all. And you know that's not true. But you can't tell people that because then what do? They shut down and or they become defensive, and then you're going backwards. So you have to go under people's programs. What if I have a hard time letting go of someone I want to date or marry? So I had a client who is getting back out there, right? Getting back out there in the dating scene, the dating market. And there's a lot of options that are coming up for him, but he's also having this kind of like the term is called one-itis. You become overly attached to one person, but you're not even attached to who that person is. You're attached to the ideal of who you think that person is. Because if you don't really know them, what are you attached to? So one level of truth, or the highest level of truth, is there is no separation. There is no loss of opportunity, right? Because we are one. So no one ever leaves you. They just change form. The dynamic between you changes form. Even if someone in your life passes away, they're just changing form because we are one. There is no separation. Now, the personality and the ego only sees separation and division and distinction because that's what it's designed to do, the ajna and the throat. So on the higher level of truth, only oneness. The lower levels of truth is you could be being protected if somebody leaves you or someone doesn't work out. And I can, in my own life, testify to that I would push for a certain person or persons to be in my life, right? I'd push and I like figure it out and work around it. Looking back, holy moly, I was actually being protected that time. But because I'm a being of free will, I can choose to continue to suffer and I can choose to continue putting myself in bad situations with bad company because I'm a being of free will. But if I had the awareness, understanding, and humility, I could have been like, that's not a good person for me. That's not a good business relationship, partnership, love interest, whatever, right? So that requires awareness, understanding, self-honesty, paying attention. So When you have understanding, your suffering goes down. So this particular guy is suffering because he's interested in this girl, and he's like, I hope it works out. I hope it works out. I hope it works out. So he's what? Attached. I hope it works out. Ah. So his attachment is what's causing him suffering. And he's attached to what? An ideal that he created in his own fat head. He doesn't know this person well enough to go, yeah, this person's a compatible partner for me. This person would complement my life and I would complement their life. So another question you can ask yourself, whether you're looking to stay in a relationship or get into a relationship or extract yourself from a relationship, is ask yourself the question, is it healthy? Is it healthy? And if you're aware, if you're honest, the answer will be obvious. I wish more people would have asked me that question, that specific question to me earlier, more often. Is that healthy? Is that partnership healthy? Is that relationship healthy? Is that love interest healthy? It doesn't mean it has to last forever, right? That's also a misunderstanding. Well, if it's not going to last forever, I'm not interested. I don't want to get involved. Yeah, but you're missing out on great experiences and opportunities with that person. It doesn't need to last forever. It needs to be healthy. That's more of what it is. Is it healthy? And then you have to understand what healthiness is, which is a whole other topic in conversation, right? So understand oneness. Separation is illusion. You don't lose anyone or anything. It just changes form. And with awareness, with honesty, with humility, with understanding, um, your suffering is greatly reduced in a relationship or a relationship interest. And then you ask yourself the question, is it healthy? So if I asked him the question, I didn't do that to him today, but if I were to ask him the question, is your excessive attachment to this person who you know very little about, is it healthy? No. So let go of your attachment. All right, let go. Doesn't mean the person isn't good, isn't compatible, isn't complementary, but your viewpoint around this person needs to change because it's unhealthy. Okay? There's so much suffering in the world. I'm so overwhelmed all the time and I become apathetic and just don't do anything. What should I do? Well, understand why you're apathetic would be a great place to start. Because is that accurate? Is it true that you don't care? Is it true that you're indifferent? Or is it that you're not wanting to really feel the pain, the sorrow, and suffering of others? That you're unwilling to be compassionate? Because that's partly what compassion is. Compassion is experiencing and sharing the burden of suffering of a person, of a family, of even the world at large. That's what compassion is. I know you're suffering and I'm here for you. I will take on part of this for you because we are one. Your suffering is my suffering. My suffering is your suffering, right? So understand that you're not apathetic. Understand that you're probably shielding something from feeling too much pain. And then do anything, do something. You don't have to save the world. You're not, as one of my mentors says, leave martyrdom to the great ones. You're not a martyr. You're not a savior for humanity. It's not your job. It's their job. So what is your job? Taking care of who and what you can take care of, right? Being kind to the person across from you, being kind to the person in line with you, being kind to the person that you work with, being kind to your employees, your vendors, your suppliers, your teachers, your co-disciples, whomever, right? Serving them right then and there versus going to the crown chakra immediately. I just am carrying the burden of humanity on my shoulders, and I can't do it anymore. Are you really? It was interesting. I had a client that whenever news would break about some tragedy with children around the world, she would feel completely and utterly despondent and helpless and disempowered. And I said, you shrinking yourself and then sending that energy to these children energetically, not calling them up, but energetically sending it to them. What do you think that does to their energy body and your energy body? And she goes, well, probably not good. I go, exactly. You being disempowered and helpless and hopeless and in despair isn't serving them. And it's actually projecting negative energies towards them, like thought forms that aren't serving them. So what would be a better thing that you could do? And she goes, well, I could probably do that Twin Hearts meditation that you taught. Exactly. And funny enough, she started practicing it. And then weeks later, we follow back up and she no longer feels disempowered, but only feels empowerment and gratitude that she goes, when I see it on the news, I immediately sit down and I start blessing the children. And I go, how do you feel afterwards? She goes, I feel amazing. And I go, do you think they're benefiting from that energy being projected at them? She goes, yes. I go, so you're doing your part, right? We all have to do our part, but some people's parts are bigger than others because they've already took off the training wheels, right? Some of us, most of us still have our training wheels on, but that doesn't mean we can't go somewhere. We can't be of service. We can't assist somebody else, right? And like several of the masters have said, they've tried to keep up with Master Choa's schedule of healing, of service, of teaching, and it burned them out because they're trying to keep up the pace of a great soul. Good luck with that, right? Then they realize I can only be me. So then you be you, the best version of you. And that's all. Can that happen to a parent of a sick child that is so depressed and worried about their child? The child is now picking up their negative energy. Yes. You guys have heard the analogy before that if you're in a plane and something's happening with the air pressure, mask comes down, they say what? Put the mask over yourself first, then put the mask over the children. Because if you're all worked up and you have no composure and you have nothing in your tank, you can't serve the other person well. So you have to take care of yourself, right? Here's the challenge with that, right? Because there's levels of truth and there's always caveats and exceptions and what have you. People can get into a pattern of saying, I'm filling up my tank and I'm practicing self care, but then never serve. It's like, okay, how much more time do you need practicing self care? Like like it's supposed to be a dynamic thing. You're receiving and you're giving. You're receiving, you're giving. You're receiving, you're giving. But it's not like, okay, 11 and a half months out of the year, I'm receiving, 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 and then I'm going to spend 2 weeks giving, right? It's not like that. So people can get too far over with self-care and they take their eye off of serving people because they go here, I'm just going to keep serving and serving and serving until I drop. Well, there's that approach. That's why Master Choa left his body very early, right? But he had his mission, he had his assignment. Or the people who are on the other end, like, I'm going to do everything I can to take care of myself, and I'm going to have the perfect schedule, the perfect routine, and then I can be more apt and able to serve others. You got to find the middle path, and it's dynamic. It's throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the quarter, throughout the year. It's not at the end of my life, I'm going to do this. At the end of my life, I'm going to do self care. At the end of my life, I'm going to do, you know, uh, I'm going to take care of others. You do both now, right? So if you're a parent, you have to take care of yourself while taking care of your kid. It's not, all right, kid, I got to get away from you for the next 6 months. I got to take care of mine. Or I don't have any time to take care of myself. I got to do everything for my kid. It's both. That's what people miss. Excuse me. I thought I saw a license from Massachusetts. I go, a license plate from Massachusetts? But it was Hawaii. It was just the light. All right. Next question. I was thinking of getting a spiritual tattoo like an Om or picture of my spiritual teacher. What are your thoughts? Don't. Ta-da! Easy question. Don't. Master Choa doesn't recommend a tattoo on the body because number one, the consciousness of the artist is going to be permanently imprinted on your physical body. How many advanced practitioners are tattoo artists? Not a judgment against tattoo artists, but if you look at the general energy and the general lifestyle of these people, what's the likelihood that they're very, very developed with clean energy? By the way, as a side note, you can be developed and have dirty energy. Aha. You can have big chakras and have them be super dirty. Did you know that? Just because you have big chakras doesn't mean you have clean chakras. Just because you have a big aura doesn't mean you have clean aura, right? It means your capacity to go off the rails is greater, actually. Okay. So I don't recommend, we don't recommend getting tattoos on the body. Now, if you already have tattoos on your body, doesn't mean you're a horrible person. No. Doesn't mean that your life is going to go off the rails. No. It's just a tendency within the energy of the tattoo. So even if it's an ohm, even if it's a picture of your teacher, your spiritual teacher, still not recommended. There's a Arhatic yogi in Italy who had an entire, it's a picture that represents the path of Arhatic yoga prep to level 5. It's encapsulated in a mystical picture, right? It's a beautiful picture. I actually have, I got a personally signed copy from the artist of this. One of my favorite images on the planet, and an Arhatic yogi in Italy had it tattooed on his back. His entire back was covered in the tattoo. But is that recommended? No, it's not recommended. So that's it. You can get a tattoo if you want. You get piercings if you want. You can. It's a form of physical injury to the body, and the imprint, you're putting in severe, intense energy that's constantly there in the body. So I don't recommend it. But we're all adults and we all have free will and do what we want. But I don't recommend it. Next question. Should I pay attention to my astrological signs or simply ignore them? Good question. And this has been coming up a lot lately. Things I've seen on YouTube a lot. All of these things are tendencies within you. So what's the famous expression, know thyself, right? So the self contains many, many different aspects. The higher soul, the incarnated soul, the mental body, emotional body, etheric body, physical body, and the different aspects of light, love, and power in the different bodies, right? You have your rising sign, your ascending sign, your moon sign. You have your rays and the different rays in the different bodies. All of these things, it's part of know thyself, know thyself, know thyself. So you have an understanding of these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are things I need to put more into the world. It's my ninja power, right? It comes easy to me. You don't have to think about it. So I'm going to do more of that in the world to keep moving forward and generating good karma and giving back to the best of my ability. And then you have your weaknesses. So you have to be aware, aha, I have the tendency to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just going to be aware of that. And I'm going to use will to change it. Like, for instance, my weakness is impatience. I'm impatient with a lot of people a lot of the time, right? It's a weakness. I'm aware of that weakness. So as I'm listening to somebody and I go, I already know what this person is going to say before they've even said it. And I'm aware, and I go, there's something I could learn here. I need to practice patience. It's for the benefit of myself and the person sitting across from me. So I'm aware of it, right? Versus letting it just run off of like I'm an impatient person. It's just how it is. Shit, deal with it, right? That's being lazy. That's also abdicating your responsibility of developing. It's your responsibility to develop, not someone else's to develop for you. So if you notice you have that tendency of being impatient, being jealous, being envious, being gossiping, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means it's a negative tendency in your personality. So it's the same thing of like, well, my astrological sign is Gemini. My sun sign is Gemini. So Geminis are what? Articulate. They're I'm trying to think of the positive things. They're good at expressing, they're good at brainstorming, their minds go really quickly, right? But what I have inevitably heard throughout my life when I tell people, particularly women, that I'm a Gemini, they go, whoa, two-faced, right? So then if I over identify with that tendency, what am I likely to do? Well, it's just my sign. I'm two-faced. I smile on one side, but then I'll stab you in the back on the other side, right? And you become that negative tendency. So the point is to just know thyself, and everything is secondary to your connection to your higher soul, right? So as Master Choa would say, I write my own fortune cookie. So yes, it's important to know what Mercury is doing in retrograde. Yes, it's important to know what your Rhea is. Yes, it's important to know what sign you are. Yes, it's important to know your chemistry, your body chemistry, right? Like some people function on 9 hours of sleep. Some people function on 5 hours of sleep, right? And you could say, well, hey, you need to sleep more, you need to sleep less. It's like, no, I have the self honesty that I function best on 9 hours of sleep. Okay, great. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is knowing who you are. I am that I am. I am the soul. And then from that, everything will become secondary or tertiary to it. Too many people just go, well, I'm a this, therefore I'm going to show up from negative tendencies. Or what's a good one? I come from a family of angry people. Therefore, I'm entitled to treat you poorly. I can't control myself. I just can't control myself. But that's abdicating responsibility. You go, okay, yeah, and true. There is something called generational energies, right? Sins of the father. So yeah, you could have the tendency. You could have had a long lineage of angry drunks. Sure, right? But that doesn't give you the excuse to not take responsibility for that tendency. Okay, great. Maybe there's a curse in your family, and those are real things, right? There could be a curse in your family lineage that is affecting you, right? But what's more important, the curse and your belief about the curse, or your knowing of who and what you are? No brainer. I am that I am. I am that I am. That's more important than anything else. So know thyself, understand your sign, understand the tendencies. I had my Jyotish, my Ayurvedic astrology done when I was 19, and it was super accurate. I was actually blown away by how accurate the reading was. And the guy didn't know me from a hill in the beans, a hole in the wall, anything. He just said, "What's your birthday, time, blah blah blah. Where were you born?" I gave him the information. He printed it out and went through my Jyotish chart, and I was like, "You got all that?" I didn't even talk to him. Right? There was no like in the world of psychic and mediums and clairvoyants that are con artists. There's something called cold reading. It's very easy to do, where you ask a certain series of questions to elicit a certain kind of response that gives the person a knowing of like, oh, this is probably what's going to go on, right? Guy didn't know me from anything other than I just said, here's my information. And then he printed it out on his little thing, his little laptop, his big laptop, because this is like 20 years ago. And he went through it. He spent maybe an hour with me on it. And I was like, dang, that's pretty accurate. Because I had some awareness of who I was, my strengths, my weaknesses, not all of them, obviously, but super accurate. But again, those are just tendencies. It's not who and what I am. I'm not my astrological sign. Also, gender. Well, I'm a woman. This is how women are. No, no, that's not how it is. Because it's connected to the virtue. The virtues are not gender based. It's not sexual orientatedly based, right? Well, like I'm a gay flamboyant male. I just lose my temper. No, you're not taking responsibility for your virtue or lack thereof. So look at the virtue of people. That's more important. Doesn't matter if they're gay, they're straight, they're black, they're white, they're transsexual, they're homosexual. It doesn't, none of that stuff matters in the least bit. What matters is the person virtuous or not virtuous? That's it. That's what you look at. Does a person live a life of virtue or not? What are the virtues connected to? The soul. That's the manifestation of the soul is virtue. You're like, wow, that's a soul infused personality. That's a virtuous human being. Okay, sweet. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Last question. Dun, dun, dun. We made it. In the car, no doubt. No less. I read in the Gita that Arjuna was encouraged to kill, but doesn't that go against the virtue of loving kindness and non-injury? It's a good one. This is a good one. This is a tough one. I have decent understanding around it, but I wouldn't say I have all understanding around it. So there's a book that's the basis of the Hindu faith in India called the Bhagavad Gita, which is over 5,000 years old, and it tells the story of Arjuna, who was an archer, and his teacher, Lord Krishna, on the battlefield. And the story goes Arjuna has to fight a war. The side that he's on is his is his duty. Like the battle he's the side of the war he's on, that's his duty as a archer, as a warrior. He's the greatest archer of all time. But the other side, there are friends and family members that he would have to kill. And he doesn't know what to do. Right? Do I fight? Do I fulfill my duty? Or do I put my weapon down so my friends and family members on the other side can live? What do I do? Well, the whole Bhagavad Gita, over 18 chapters, shows the discourse between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. It's an amazing read. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. The version I read was by Satchitananda, who was actually the yogi who opened up Woodstock in the 1960s. He was the one that not started Woodstock, but he was the one that led the, you could say, invocation for Woodstock in 1969. Satchitananda, who left the body in 1988. So I would highly recommend getting that version of it. It was the one I started with. It makes a lot of sense, but there are other yogis and teachers who wrote commentary about the Bhagavad Gita. But in essence, what do you do? Because isn't killing somebody an act of injury and cruelty? Not necessarily. His dharma was to do what he did, right? His dharma was that of a warrior. His dharma was of the bow and the arrow. That's what his skill set was. That's what he was trained to do. He had obligations to meet and fulfill, which is being a warrior. But if somebody kills out of celebration and out of joy, or they torture out of celebration and joy, the karma changes. Right? So a person who, back in the day, the executioners that had to cut off people's heads, it was their duty to do so. If they did it out of joy and malice, the karma would change. Right? Just like certain people in World War II on the German side, the Nazis, some of them did it out of what? Duty, right? Some of them did it out of pleasure. Karma is different. So Lord Krishna in one of the chapters is speaking of, well, you're doing your duty, which is your job of the soul, and the bodies come and go. So they're your friends and family members in these bodies, but they take on different bodies when they die. So he's seeing the ever expanding oneness in the law of birth and death, like the cycle of birth and death. Great book. Like, obviously it's a great book. It's been around for 5,000 years, and its lessons are as relevant now as they were 5,000 years ago. Great teachings, universal teachings. But your duty is in alignment with the soul, your purpose. What you have to learn, lessons you have to learn, experiences you have to have. It's part of what you're supposed to do. But if you shirk your purpose, you're out of what? You're out of alignment with your divine plan. That's why they say it's better to poorly do your dharma than perfectly live the dharma of another, which is in essence similar to hell, similar to going to hell, because you're off your course, you're off where you're supposed to be. That's why knowing thyself, what are my ninja powers, and utilizing those ninja powers, that's part of your soul's purpose. Things that come easy to you because you've developed that. Arjuna had trained and developed the skill to kill, to be a leader, to be a warrior, right? That was his dharma. That was his purpose. And so he was like, I don't want this. I don't want to fulfill my purpose. Sorry, you got to pick up the bow and arrow. You got to get on the battlefield. Chapter 11 was my favorite chapter of the book. Like, blew my mind. Permanently changed me as a human being. Chapter 11 in the Bhagavad Gita. So, ta-da! We did it. Yay! I just want to make sure I covered everything. Didn't miss any questions or comments. Nope. Okay, perfect. Okay, and we'll be doing the meditations this. We're not doing them live. We're doing them before the weekend's over. I don't know where I'm going to be this weekend, but they'll be done and they'll be posted. But we will not have Sunday's meditation at the normal time because the normal time is like 4:30 in the morning anyways here. So that's definitely not going to happen. But Christian, you said yogis wake up between 2 and 6. Aren't you? I don't want to hear it. So I hope this was helpful. Again, keep submitting your questions, christianrlong@gmail, or find me on Facebook at Christian R. Long and send me a message on Messenger. There's still a human being on here that keeps sending me messages on WhatsApp. I know you're listening to this at some point. I want you to stop sending me messages on WhatsApp. Send me messages at christianrlong@gmail. You're the only person. christianrlong@gmail or Facebook Messenger. Okay? It's just easier for copy and pasting purposes. Let's not make it more difficult for me. Okay, so let us close. Beware the heart. Beware the crown. Beware them together. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother. Respect and beloved teacher, Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui, Lord Mahaguru Jamiling, to Lord Buddha Kuan Yin, to Lord Ganesh, to Holy Master Count Saint Germain, to Saraswati, to all the holy gurus, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, to the angels of this place, to the angels of Maui, to the nature devas, nature spirits, to our divine selves, our higher souls, we thank you all for your great, great blessings, your soothing, healing energies. We thank you. With gratitude, respect, and the deepest of love, so be it. Thank you. The energy is so palatable. You can like taste it literally in the air. It's amazing. So, lots of love. I will see you. Can't see where the button is. There it is. I will see you on the flip side. I will be submitting this shortly. And keep sending your questions in. Keep sending your questions in. Love you guys. Bye bye.